In a world just, well, swimming in information, finding those insights that really make you stop and think, they can feel like looking for a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Mm.
But that's what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving deep into the really complex global efforts to push gender equality forward.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we've got some great material to work with. There's a brand new story on a big international team-up, UNESCO's own detailed plans, their global strategy, basically, and some honestly fascinating stuff on how gender equality bumps up against cultural traditions worldwide.
Exactly. And our aim really is to pull out the key takeaways from all of that. We
Yeah.
want you to get a sense not just of the policies, on paper,
Right.
but how they actually land on the ground, how they're used, how they're adapted, sometimes how they're, well, resisted in all these different places. It's
Yeah.
about the so what and the often surprising details.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. UNESCO.
Yeah.
They're a massive player here, obviously. And they have a very clear idea of what gender equality means to them. It's not just jargon, is it?
No, not at all. Their definition really nails it, I think. It's about equal rights, sure, equal responsibilities, opportunities for women, men, girls, boys, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But the key part is actively considering the different interests, the needs, the priorities of all these groups, and recognizing, the diversity within those groups, too.
So it's not one size fits all.
Definitely not. It's a human right, fundamentally, but it's also like a building block for development that actually works for people, that lasts.
And they have this two-pronged approach to making it happen. What does that actually involve? Why two prongs?
Well, it shows they understand that tackling inequality needs different tools. You can't just do one thing.
Right.
So the first prong is gender mainstreaming. That means weaving a gender perspective into everything they plan, all actions, policies, programs. Yeah, it's about asking at every step, how will this education plan or this climate project or, this heritage initiative, how will it affect women and men differently? You assess the impact right from the design phase.
Okay, so it's like building it into the foundations of every single project.
Exactly, baked right in. And then the second prong is gender-specific programming.
It sounds more targeted.
It is. These are specific actions designed to fix particular inequalities. So think about programs just for girls' schooling, where that's a big problem, or maybe helping women start businesses where they can't easily get loans.
Okay. So general approach and specific fixes.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
like you need to level the whole playing field, but sometimes you also need to give someone a specific boost to get them onto it. And crucially, this isn't some side project for UNESCO. Gender equality is one of their top 2 global priorities.
Alongside Africa.
Alongside Africa, yeah. Which just shows how absolute central they see this work being to their whole mission.
Okay, that framework makes sense. And you mentioned tangible action. We actually have this news just from yesterday, August 28th, 2025, a new international partnership. Tell us about that. What makes this one stand out?
Yeah, this is a really exciting development. It's the University of the Free State, UFS, in South Africa. They're joining this new UNESCO chair focused on education, gender equity, and well-being.
Oh.
But what's really interesting is who's involved. It's a 4-year thing led by the University of Minnesota in the U.S., but it also includes Christ University in India and then UWC University of the Western Cape and UFS in South Africa.
Wow, so that's genuinely global, 3 continents.
Exactly,
Yeah.
spanning the global north and global south.
So this is more than just, academics swapping papers.
Oh, much more. Professor Mikateko Mathebula from UFS put it really well. She called it a powerful opportunity to bring African perspectives into global conversations on these topics. Education, gender, well-being.
Making sure African viewpoints are heard.
Yes, and specifically, she mentioned ensuring African epistemologies and experiences are at the forefront.
Epistemologies, ways of knowing.
Exactly. Ways of knowing, ways of understanding the world that come from African context, not just imposing Western frameworks. So it's about co-creating knowledge, really. Knowledge that works locally and contributes globally.
And how will they do that practically?
Well, they're planning things like public seminars, monthly research workshops, chances for students and staff from all these places to publish together, building a real community.
That sounds great. And there's already a specific event lined up.
Yeah, UFS is going to host a symposium in 2027. The topic is Epistemic Injustice, Well-Being and Coloniality of Youth in Africa's Higher Education.
Okay, that title alone tells you they're serious about tackling those deep-seated issues and amplifying African voices.
Definitely. It signals a real commitment.
So this UFS partnership is one concrete example. But looking bigger picture, How does UNESCO spread this gender equality focus across all its different areas of work? You mentioned 5 main program areas.
Right. They try to embed it everywhere. Let's start with education. I mean, it's obvious, but still shocking.
The statistic.
Yeah, 16 million girls around the world never get to go to school, not even for a day.
16 million. It's staggering.
It is. So UNESCO works hard on closing those gaps in access, but also in the quality of education and what kids actually learn. They focus on literacy for youth and adults, and especially keeping girls in school beyond the primary level.
Makes sense. Then what about the natural sciences, STEM fields?
Yeah, STEM. Big focus there is getting more women involved. They're still really underrepresented in science, tech, engineering, maths.
Still, even now.
Oh, yeah. So UNESCO does things like promoting women scientists as role models. You know, the UNESCO L'Oreal for Women in Science program?
I've heard of it.
That's one example. And they set targets, like aiming for 40% women on high-level science committees. It's about reaching that critical mass, you know?
Right, changing the landscape. Okay, then culture. That sounds like it could be tricky with traditions and all.
Yeah. It definitely can be. The goal in culture is simple on paper. Make sure women and men can equally access, participate in, and shape cultural life.
Shape it, not just observe it.
Exactly. That means tackling stereotypes and cultural expressions, supporting women getting into decision-making roles in, say, arts organizations or heritage sites.
Got it. And in today's world, communication and information must be huge, too.
Absolutely critical. Two big things here. Closing the digital gender divide, getting women and girls online and skilled, and making those online spaces safer for them.
Safer how?
Well, to tackling things like online harassment, threats, gender disinformation, fake news targeted at women, basically, which is a massive problem and really silences women online.
Right, and they have positive initiatives, too.
Yeah, like Youth Mobile. That gets young people designing mobile apps for sustainable development, including apps focused on gender equality. Very hands-on.
Cool. Okay, last one, social and human sciences. Sounds broad.
It is. It covers a lot. It's about getting gendered equality into public policy, social inclusion policies, youth programs, also into areas like bioethics, sports policy.
And violence prevention.
Yes, crucially. Working to prevent gender-based violence, GBV. UNESCO calls it the most prevalent and pervasive human rights violation worldwide. So the work here is incredibly important, from policy right down to community programs.
Wow. It's clearly a massive across-the-board effort. But like you said with culture, how does all this interact with, deeply rooted traditions? How do these global goals meet local realities on the ground? That must create tension.
Huge tension sometimes, and that's where this idea of intangible cultural heritage, or ICH, comes in. We're talking living traditions, performances, social practices, local knowledge.
Stuff that makes a culture unique.
Exactly. And that stuff inherently shapes how we see gender, our roles, identities. Now, UNESCO's big treaty on ICH from 2003, it says these practices have to align with international human rights.
Okay, seems clear enough.
But sometimes national laws allow exemptions for tradition, so you still see challenges like women's roles in a tradition being valued less than men's, or women being shut out of leadership roles in managing that heritage. It's a real balancing act.
Okay, so let's get into some examples. This is where it gets really interesting, seeing how this plays out. What about traditions moving, as you said, beyond the binary?
Right. Bangladesh is a striking example. The government officially recognized Hijra as a third gender back in 2013,
Yeah.
a traditional third gender community in South Asia. And seeing them participate now in traditional Bengali folk dance, like at the National Arts Academy, that's a big shift in public perception, a sign of growing acceptance within a traditional art form.
That is significant.
And it connects to older ideas, too, like traditional Navajo culture recognizes multiple genders, the Nadlahi and Dilba. These aren't new Western ideas. They show historical roots for accepting LGBTQI people long before current terminology. It's like reclaiming diverse histories.
That's powerful. Okay, what about traditions that are just changing, maybe not radically, but shifting?
Well, look at Japan's big Yamahokoyatai float festivals, historically very male-dominated.
Right.
But now you're seeing more women participating. Sometimes it's practical, fewer young men available in some areas.
Demographic shifts.
Exactly. But it's also about changing attitudes about what roles women can play in public, in ceremonies. Or think about Iran and the ancient art of Naqali, traditional storytelling.
Also male-dominated.
Traditionally, yes. But now there's a noticeable rise in female Naqals, female storytellers, and state media is even promoting some of them, like Bahara Jahandust, as role models. So you see change happening, driven by different factors.
It's interesting how practical needs can sometimes open doors for social change.
It often happens that way, yeah.
And what about communities tackling really difficult issues themselves, like violence?
This is really inspiring. In Papua New Guinea, you have communities taking direct action against violence linked to witchcraft accusations.
Which often targets women, right?
Right. Disproportionately, yes. So you see things like the Gore community-based laws and policing. If someone falsely accuses another of witchcraft, they have to pay compensation for defamation. It's a local, community-led system to try and curb this specific form of gendered violence, using traditional structures to uphold human rights.
That's tackling it from the ground up. We also see examples of policies actively recognizing marginalized groups.
Yes, absolutely. Ecuador had this bearer recognition project. It specifically highlighted people safeguarding traditions. One person they celebrated was the late Zoila Espinosa,
Who was she?
an Afro-Chutenya woman. She was honored both for preserving her community's traditional dance and for her activism for Afro-Ecuadorian rights.
Ah, so connecting heritage directly with social justice.
Exactly. Showing how cultural identity and activism can go hand in hand and how recognition can empower people doing that work.
But it's not always positive change or easy change. There must be areas where tradition really clashes with rights and progress is slow.
Oh, definitely. We have to be realistic. Look at Kenya and female genital mutilation, FGM. It was outlawed years ago, 2001, and then again in 2011 with stronger laws.
But it still happens.
It persists. Because views within communities can be deeply divided, it highlights that just passing a law isn't always enough when a practice is deeply embedded.
So what's the response there?
Well, one interesting development is the rise of alternative rites of passage, ARP. These are community-developed initiation ceremonies that maintain the cultural significance of coming of age, but without the physical cutting.
Ah, finding a middle way.
Trying to, yes, a way to respect the cultural meaning while eliminating the harm. It's complex, ongoing work.
And technology is playing a role, too. You mentioned Finland.
Yeah, Finland has this cool wiki inventory for living heritage started in 2016. It lets communities themselves document their own ICH online.
Democratizing documentation.
Yeah. Right. And the platform specifically encourages thinking about gender inclusivity. What they found is that even practices like traditional open-air dancing or sauna bathing are becoming more gender diverse, and the wiki helps capture that ongoing evolution.
It really shows how dynamic these traditions can be.
Absolutely. These examples, they just paint such a complex picture, don't they? It's this constant conversation between global human rights ideas and very specific local cultures. Gender equality, it's almost never a straight line from policy to practice. It needs that dialogue, that adaptation, and often it really bubbles up from the community itself.
So pulling all these threads together, the big policies, the partnerships like UFS, these fascinating cultural examples, what's the overall impact? What does this all add up to?
Well, stepping back, I think the key takeaway is that gender equality isn't just, one issue siloed off by itself.
It connects to everything else.
Exactly. UNESCO's own reports really hammer this home. Their 2022-2023 report called it crucial for tackling all the big interconnected crises we face: climate change, biodiversity loss, conflict, human rights abuses.
Because those crises affect men and women differently.
Profoundly differently. They are not gender neutral. So promoting gender equality isn't just fair, it's essential. It means bringing the skills, the ideas, the perspectives of literally half the planet fully into finding solutions. We need everyone on board to build societies that are more sustainable, more peaceful.
And making sure this actually happens requires tracking, right? Accountability. It can't just be good intentions.
No way. And UNESCO does have systems for that. They use things like the UN System-Wide Action Plan Indicators, the UN SWAP. It's basically a scorecard for how well UN agencies are doing on gender mainstreaming.
Yeah.
And they use a gender marker system internally that tracks how much money is actually being spent on projects that advance gender equality. So it shows a systematic effort to measure if they're putting their money where their mouth is.
So it's about creating these spaces, as you said, for everyone involved, academics, communities, policymakers, to talk and act together.
Precisely. Making it a shared effort, a shared responsibility.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today, from those high-level UNESCO strategies and global partnerships like the one with UFS, right down to these really specific, often surprising ways that culture and gender interact on the ground. It really drives home that change is happening everywhere, from the global policy level down to individual villages, and it needs both that big vision and that local sensitivity.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately what all this work highlights is a really basic truth. Gender equality isn't just about being fair, though it is that. It's really about unlocking humanity's full potential. It's about building societies that are stronger, fairer, more sustainable, just better for everyone.
A world where everyone's voice can actually help shape what comes next.
That's the goal.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about as you go about your day. Think about the cultural things, the community norms right where you live. What are the gender dynamics you see? How are they maybe being reinforced without anyone noticing? Or maybe how are they quietly changing already? And think about how these big global ideas we talked about, from organizations like UNESCO, how they might actually connect maybe in ways you wouldn't expect, to even the most local parts of your own life and culture.